Hey guys, I hope y'all are doing well today. Welcome back to my channel. So hopefully y'all are going to be staying home where you can be safe to ring in the new year. But for those of us who still plan on getting glammed up so we can ring in the new year from home, today I'm going to be showing y'all how you can take a really natural, like everyday, like daytime look and then transition it into more of like a fun, sparkly evening look for New Year's Eve. So we're going to be going from this daytime look to this sparkly nighttime look for New Year's Eve. So let's jump right into it. So I am going to start with my Estee Lauder Double Wear Concealer. This is in the shade 4C, and I'm going to use this. I'm going to put some of it underneath my foundation just to kind of even out my skin tone a little bit. So I'm just putting this on some of the dark spots on my face and under my eye. And this isn't gonna like completely cover this stuff up. I'm just like evening out my skin tone before I go in with foundation. I feel like my foundation looks better when I do this. So because this is the layer that's going on underneath the foundation, I like to blend this out with a sponge just because it's quicker and I don't need the coverage to be quite as much as I would need it to be when I go on top of my foundation with my concealer. Okay, so you should be able to tell just a little bit of a difference. My skin is just a little more even toned. Some of that stuff just got covered up just a little bit. My under eyes are looking just a little bit better. So now we're gonna go in with foundation. I'm using the Rare Beauty foundation in 440C, and you always have to shake this up before you use it because it's really liquidy. So I like to do just 3 little or big stripes on both sides. And I'm using my IT Cosmetics blending brush. And I feel like especially like on my cheek area, I just feel like my foundation just looks cleaner when I put a little bit of concealer underneath. I'm starting to think maybe I should revisit color correcting. I used to color correct all the time, and for whatever reason I just stopped doing it, but maybe I should start doing that again. Alright, I'm going back in with my Estee Lauder concealer, but I'm going to mix it in with another concealer in a minute. So I'm just putting a little bit more on this under eye area, the corners of my mouth, and my chin and forehead. And for the under eye area, I'm going to mix in some of my Rare Beauty concealer. This is in 390C, and I'm going to put just a little bit of it right here just to add a little bit of brightness. I don't think this concealer is the best for giving coverage, but it's good for adding brightness. So I'm going to blend on my chin and my forehead first. And I always like to take the same brush or sponge that I use for my foundation to blend out my concealer in these 2 areas. I just think it helps the 2 colors like blend in better together. And then I'm gonna let this concealer sit and I'm gonna do my brows, and I'll be right back. Okay, and now I'm blending out the rest of my concealer. This is the Rare Beauty foundation brush that I'm using, but I like to use it for my concealer. And the reason I like to let this sit is just so that it can thicken up and give me a little bit more coverage. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna blend out the Estee Lauder concealer first, and then go back and blend out this Rare Beauty concealer right in the inner part, just so that I'm not covering up too much of the brighter concealer with the darker one. And I'm going back in with my foundation brush, and then I'm just like kind of blending over one more time, just going over everywhere where foundation is meeting concealer, doing like one final blend. There's a big truck outside if y'all can hear it. Okay, I've been sitting here for a minute because I was trying to let the truck go by. I think you can still hear it, but it's not quite as noisy. So my concealer has been sitting for a little bit, so I'm gonna take a sponge and I'm just gonna pounce back over it just to flatten the under eye area a little bit, get rid of any creases that might be in there. And then I'm going to set everything. So for my concealer, I'm using my Pretty Vulgar setting powder. So I'm just picking up some on my sponge here. I'm using the flat side of my sponge. And I'm gonna pick up a little bit more, and I'm gonna hit my chin and forehead area. For the rest of my face, I'm gonna set with my Sephora Microsmooth powder. This one is in the shade Tan. This is actually a baked powder foundation, but I use it to set my face. So I like to set with a damp sponge. Just in case you've been watching any of my beginners videos, just know that what I'm doing today is different from the tutorials that I do there. Today I'm doing more so like my everyday makeup look, but those beginner tutorials, they're geared more towards beginners. So I would be doing some stuff like in a different order, just so that you'll know. So I like to pick up some of the powder on the back of the sponge, and I just like to pat this over the rest of my face. And I feel like using a damp sponge, it helps to add a little bit of moisture back into the face, and like it helps to just kind of like push the powder in just a little bit more. I picked up a little bit more of the Pretty Vulgar powder, the translucent one, and I'm gonna lightly set my eyelids because I'm gonna be doing mostly matte eyeshadow. So I always like to set my lids when I'm doing matte eyeshadow. If I were doing like a shimmery shadow, then I would use my my eye primer. I'm gonna be using the That's Taupe palette from Colourpop today because this is a very like everyday, like natural, like cool toned palette, and I love cool tones for those of you who may be new here. So I'm gonna go in with this shade here. This one is called Python. This is gonna be my main lid color for today. So I'm just gonna, I don't know why I just closed this eye when I'm about to put the shadow over here, but anyway, I'm just gonna put this all over my lid. And I do like to drag my colors up kind of high just so that they can definitely be seen. And next I'm going in with a little bit of this dark brown shade here. I'm gonna put that on the outer part of my eye. I can't find some of my eyeshadow brushes, so this isn't the brush that I would normally use for this, but what I'm doing is I'm just overlapping like the very edge of that first color with this brown shade because I don't want this brown shade to be on the very outer corner of the look, so I'm just letting it overlap just a little bit. I'm gonna pick up some of that same dark brown shade, and I'm putting it right on the very outer corner of the lower lash line. I don't want too much of this to be on the lower lash line because right now I'm doing like the more natural like daytime look, so I don't want my eyes to be like too dark. And then even when I transition it to like the evening look, I don't want my eyes to be smoky. I want to go for more of like a sparkly fun look, but not necessarily like a smoky look. So I'm just putting just a little bit of that on the lower lash line. So I'm going back in with my blending brush, and I'm going to keep that dark brown eyeshadow on it, but I'm going to mix in some of that first shade that we use just to lighten it up a little bit, and I'm going to use that to kind of like buff everything out. So I'm going to be blending kind of like around that dark brown shade on the top and the bottom. And I'm also using that to kind of like smudge out that color that I put on the lower lash line, just so that it's not like super concentrated and it's just, you know, more blended out. Next I'm going in with this shade in the middle. It's like a pinky shimmery shade. This is going to be my inner corner highlight for today. So I'm just going to concentrate that right here. And I am going to let it slightly blend into the lid, just a little bit. Taking my concealer brush again, and I'm just going to clean up the sides a little bit. I feel like every time I get a routine down, I want to make minor changes to it, because with me doing this, it kind of makes me feel like I want to try putting my foundation on, then my eyeshadow, and then my concealer, because then I can also use the concealer to clean up the outer edges. So that's something that I might, you know, play around with one day. So that's it for the eyes for now. So moving back to the cheeks, for my blush, I'm using my NYX Sweet Cheeks matte blush in Summer Breeze. And this particular blush is just a little bit darker than the one that I usually use from Note Cosmetics. This one is just a tiny bit darker so it's not quite as vibrant on my face. And I'm doing that so that when I transition to the nighttime look, it's just still not a whole lot going on my face. So I don't want my blush to be like very like overpowering today. And I'm going in with my everyday bronzer. This is the Charlotte Tilbury bronzer. This one is in the shade 3 Tan. This is the one I use like 100% of the time when I'm doing my makeup. And then I'm just gonna bronze my cheeks and my forehead a little bit. And I'm actually gonna add a little bit more bronzer, but I'm actually gonna use a different one for the nighttime look. But since I know I'm gonna be adding some more on later on, I don't wanna be like too bronzy for the daytime look. And then also just adding a little bit to my nose. That I always like to take my brush and just go right back over my nose just to soften the bronzer right back out, just in case I've added on too much. Okay, I'm going in with my setting spray next. So this is the e.l.f. Stay All Night Micro Fine Setting Mist. However, I took some of the stuff out of this bottle and I put it into my Fenty bottle. The sprayer on this bottle is just like really weird. It just, every time I push it down, it gets stuck, so I just can't use it. So when I ran out of this, I just switched them because I love the mister on this bottle anyway. So just know that this is my e.l.f. spray, not my Fenty spray. Okay, I just put some eyeliner on. I did it off camera and I was about to put my mascara on too, but I feel like my eyes look just a little bit darker than what I want. So I'm gonna go back in with this first shade here and I'm gonna apply just a little bit and allow it to overlap that brown shade on the outer corner a little bit more. So I'm just dragging that shade over some just so that my eyes don't look quite as dark. I just want them to be just a little bit lighter than what they are. And I do think that that made a difference. So now I'm going to finish up with my mascara. I already put my eyeliner on off camera. I used the Rare Beauty eyeliner. I'm going to use my Petite and Pretty mascara on my top lashes and the NARS Climax mascara on the bottom ones. The only reason I'm using this on the bottom lash, I do think it's a good bottom lash mascara, but I don't like this for the top lashes. So I'm just trying to use it up as I can just so that it's not sitting around. So I'm just going to put this on the bottom lash, you know, just because. So I'm gonna do these off camera and I'll be right back. Okay, my eyes are done. So moving on to the lips, I'm gonna be using my Wet n Wild lip pencil. This one is in the shade Chestnut. So this is like a brick burgundy red lip liner. And then I'm going to use my Crayon Case lip gloss in the shade Clean Kisses. I hardly use this, but this is a really pretty lip gloss. I need to start using this more often. Okay, so here's our natural everyday like daytime look. So now we're going to add a few touches, a little bit of sparkle to the look, make it a little bit more fun for New Year's Eve. Okay, so I'm going to glam up the eyes a little bit first. So in our Colourpop palette, there really isn't any shade in here that I want to use for what I'm about to do. So instead of going back into this, I'm going to pick up my Fenty Sandcastle highlighter. So it's the brown one over here. I'm going to use this to add a little bit of sparkle to my eye. I really like this highlighter because it has like sparkle and a lot of shimmer to it. So I'm going to be taking a brush that has like a pretty like dense brush head to it. This is just a big like eyeshadow blending brush, and I'm going to take my brush and just pat it into the highlighter, and I am picking up a good amount of product. I'm still going to tap it off, but I do have like a good amount of product on the brush. And I am going to, let me just use this mirror here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just plop this on my lid right on top of that matte color that I have. And I'm gonna let this like really disperse over the lid. So I am gonna have the color, the highlighter, like more concentrated on the inner part of the lid, and then just let it disperse like as it goes out. But I'm not gonna bring the highlighter like all the way out. And I'm also going to bring it all the way up to my brow bone just because I really want it to be seen. So I'm not being like super precise with the placement of this. I'm just using it to just, you know, add a little bit of sparkle to my eye look. So I feel like I'm gonna add a little bit more, but you can add as little or as much as you want. But I think I'm gonna add a little bit more toward my lash line. Yeah, and I think that that looks pretty good for me. So I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side. So next I'm going to take one of my Colourpop Super Shock shadows. This one is in the shade Ritz. It might be a little difficult for me to show this to you because it is broken, so it's kind of crumbly, but hopefully y'all can see that. This has, I don't know if you can see like the sheen or how it has kind of like a foil look to it, but this one is like really like foily in my opinion. So I'm going to take a different brush. This is different from the one that I used to put my inner corner on. This one just has a bigger brush head, so it's just going to allow me to put on more product. But I'm going to put some of this on top of that shadow that I have in my inner corner, and this is going to add yet more brightness to the look. So I already have like some shimmer going on my inner corner, but this one will add just like a little bit more sparkle. And again, you just want to add as little or as much as you want. I am going to add a good amount, just, you know, because it's New Year's Eve. I don't want to go over the top, but I also want it to look, you know, nice and sparkly. So you guys should be able to see a difference from this eye to this eye. This one just has a little bit more sparkle to it. So I'm just going to do the same thing to the other side. Okay, so I think that's it for the eyes. So I have just a lot more sparkle going on, but to me it's not over the top. It's still wearable, but it's just, you know, a little more fun. So now I'm going to deepen up my complexion just a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit more bronzer. This time I'm going to use my Fenty Beauty bronzer, and this one is in the shade Coco Naughty. So I feel like the one that I use for my daytime look, the Charlotte Tilbury one, that one is more of like a comparable color to my skin tone because it's just not quite as dark as this. This one is just like a little bit darker. So I'm just going to use this, and I'm going to go right on top of the bronzer that I applied this morning. And this is just going to add just a little bit more warmth, a little bit more dimension to my face, and just give me more of like a bronzy look. Okay, next I'm going to add a little bit more spray to my face, but I'm going to go in with more of a glowy one. This is the Iconic London Prep Set and Glow setting spray, and when you shake it up, you can really see like all of that glow inside of the bottle. So I'm going to put a good amount of this on my face, but I'm going to make sure that I'm going to get my cheeks, and I'm also going to try to cover my eyes just because I just put my mascara on not too long ago. Now, if you're going to do the daytime look like early in the day and you're not going to transition into the nighttime look like a few hours later, your mascara will definitely be set. But because I kind of just put the mascara on, I'm going to try to cover my eyes so a lot of this won't get on my mascara. So when I sprayed it on this side of my face, I had the sprayer like way too close to me, and it kind of like splotched out. So I'm going to let this dry down just a little bit, but I don't want it to dry down too much. But you can, I don't know if y'all can see like that little bit of spray like right in the center of my face there, but it was just like too close to my face. But I don't want this to completely dry because I'm going to go on top of it with some highlighter for my cheeks. So if you spray your face first and then put the highlighter on, it'll just help like accentuate that highlighter. So I'm going to go right back into my Super Shock shadow again. And I'm going to pick this up on a duo fiber brush. I used to use this brush all the time to apply my cheek highlight because I feel like it kind of disperses the highlighter a little bit instead of giving me like a strip of product right there. So I'm just patting it in like this. It's kind of hard for me to show you because again, the eyeshadow is like really crumbly, but I'm just going to pat this like right on the high points of my cheek. And the reason I really like this for a cheek highlighter is because it's really nice and sparkly, but it doesn't add any color to your face. It's like a colorless, like really sparkly, almost like a topper is what it looks like. So same thing with this. You're just gonna put on as much as you want, and I am putting on quite a bit, like much more than I would put on for like every day. I usually don't do cheek highlight these days at all, but if I were, I would be putting on less than this, but I'm just going, you know, being a little extra for New Year's Eve. I'm gonna pick up just a little bit more of that highlighter, but this time I'm picking it up on my finger, and I'm just gonna very lightly drag it down the center of my nose. I just didn't want to use this brush for the center of my nose because I feel like that would have just had it like all over the place. So I'm just adding just a little bit of sparkle there too. So you guys, I think you guys can definitely see like how nice and sparkly it is. But again, it's not adding any extra color to my face, which is why I really like it. So if you're going to be adding this kind of highlight to your face, you can put it wherever you would normally put highlighter. Like some people like to go above their brows. As a matter of fact, just for the heck of it, let's put a little bit on the brow bone, just a little bit. We already have like all that sparkly eyeshadow up here, but again, we're just being a little extra tonight, so why not? So me personally, I think that this lip goes with our nighttime look too, because it is nice and shiny and glossy, but I am gonna change my lipstick as well. So I'm just gonna blot this off a little bit. And I still have a little bit of that lip gloss and lip liner on, but that's fine because I'm just gonna cover it right up. So I'm gonna be using the Fenty Beauty Slip Shine lipstick, and this one is in the shade Vamps Who Brunch. It's like a really nice purple shade. So I'm gonna finish everything off with this.
That's good.
Okay, and this is our finished look for New Year's Eve night. So whatever y'all are doing for New Year's, I really hope that y'all have fun, and I hope that y'all stay safe. Happy New Year to all of y'all. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all back here for my next video. Until then, take care. Have a good one, y'all. Bye.